brought you this wanderlust. Raise your hand, you guys. Come on.
Emeritus.
They're back there. They got the food and everything. So this is the first of the winter wanderlust. Every month we have one, so stay tuned because there's more great ones coming, but we're so excited about tonight. Ann's going to be our MC, and so without further ado, take it away.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My name is Ann Bideloff. I'm a member of the club here and then also volunteer over at Wayzata Sailing, and saw this group always going out and doing these practices all the time, and so asked what all of that was about. They got a fan they didn't know they needed and maybe didn't want. And so when we were talking about let's have an opportunity to chat about this, I'm like, me, and Dominic's like, Mom, can I get out of it? And she said, no. So we're excited to talk to you about this and all of this, but to get us started with that, we have another guy who's a member of the club, who's a winner of a different kind, and he is actually going to come and start us off with his, oh, you're right there, Ninja. Ninja. I didn't even hear you come up.
I am very quiet.
Did you get like your deviated septum done? Normally there's a, all right, come on up. Come on up. This is my friend Bill Allen.
Hi, everybody. This is my girlfriend.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's, oh, it's on video.
So I have just been asked, and I think maybe it's just because I'm old, but to come and just say a little bit about this and what these guys have done, because and I told them early in the summer, but you know, I did this 60-some years ago. And I did it with her great uncle. Her.
One of those blonde girls.
Gordy Bauer's brother Danny, twice. The first time we did it was in 1962. This club didn't even exist in 1962, so that's how old I am. But I was 13, I think, at the time. I thought there was an age limit on it, well, maybe 15, but I don't know. I thought this just started when I went in the 60s. Turns out it started
They created it for you.
in the 20s. And the fun thing about it is that, you know, we did it and as young kids, and we didn't even know what a keelboat was when we went and did it. We raced out here on Lake Minnetonka in D-scows, which don't even exist anymore. It's a 20-foot E-scow, basically. And so we raced in those here, and then we won the series that was here at Minnetonka. We went to Put-in-Bay, Ohio, and sailed the Interlakes, which still exists. It's very much like a big X-boat or a big snipe, 3 of us. I was crewing with Danny Bowers and Woody Baskerville. Woody was a member here back in the 80s, very competitive. But, you know, we have no expectations, as I'm sure they didn't either, that they're going to do well, because we're here on this lake doing our thing, and you know, we don't even know who we're going to be up against. Well, we ended up winning the series in Put-in-Bay, and we go, now we got to go sail a keelboat. Well, we never sailed a keelboat in our lives at that point in time. So we actually flew down to Milwaukee and got together with Buddy Melgus. One of the first times I met Buddy Melgus. I mean, not met him, but really spending time with him. And he took us sailing in Milwaukee Harbor on a 210, which is about a 23-foot, 26-foot maybe keelboat. They're like double enders. It was something that we'd never experienced before. We never experienced the Genoa. And we're going to Marblehead, Massachusetts. Now, I know San Diego was pretty exciting, but Marblehead. My first plane trip, you know. And we go out, and I actually looked through the all of the placings. I mean, these guys are going down in history with Henry Sprague, who was a Finn a world champion, with John Coleus and John Kostecki, who were all Americans and Olympic champions and America's Cup people, and John Dane. We're getting a lot of stuff about John Dane sailing in the Etchells Worlds in Australia, right? You're all getting that crap from
Oh, yeah.
from Eric. Eric's racing with John Dane. John Dane did this, and so we actually did it 2 years. I did it both times with Danny Bowers. The second time we had Robbie Rogers, and a lot of you know Sam Rogers, it's his uncle. So I mean, we were kind of a tight group. And then I know Billy Barnett did it in like 68 or 69. They went to the finals. Tommy Burton went in 1974.
Yep.
And you all know Tommy. Tommy's won more regattas and A Scows and E Scows than maybe I've ever sailed, and I've sailed a lot.
A little bit.
But, you know, he actually is the first and only, at that time, Inland Lake Yachting Association members that won it. We got third. So it was a great experience. We did it again the next year, only made it to the semifinals. So, you know, 62, 63. These guys are joining the likes of world champions and America's Cup champions and gold medalists. And when they came in, I suggested maybe now that you're at the top, you just quit. Don't do any of it again, because look what it could lead to. You know? And it's so cool that they're starting off at this age and doing this. And you know, here I am, did it 60 some years ago, still sailing in this club, still enjoying this sport to more than anything I can ever imagine, and what a great club to be a member of. And I'm so happy for these guys, and you know, I hope that you have all the fun and success with this sailing game that is so much fun and gets you places like I've been over my life. To sail and meet people that to this day I still talk to on Facebook, that I sailed with in the 60s and 70s and 80s, and how much fun this whole thing is still to this day. So congratulations.
And this is a lot about youth sailing, so that's always a great place to start, how old you were when you started sailing. And that's going to be our first question for these folks, how old they were when they started sailing. So tell me your name and how old you were when you started sailing.
I'm Dominic, probably like 4 or 5.
Yeah, I think that's that one photo we have. Yep.
When I took you out on the laser and you were screaming bloody murder? I'm Harper, and my parents have a boat, so I've been on it since like preschool.
Exactly. Okay.
Use your boat voice.
Oh, yes.
It doesn't exist.
That is her boat voice. I can repeat everything she said. Stonewall.
I taught you.
Stonewall.
I'm Stonewall. I've been sailing since I was about 6. Started over at the sailing center.
Yep.
I'm Ella Bowers.
Yep.
As you know, my last name. Gordy kind of forced me into sailing. Well, I know. So I sailed at Minnetonka very early, and I didn't like it much at all. So I quit, and then recently this spring, I changed schools, now go to Binnell St. Margaret's, and my mom pushed me back into sailing a little bit, and I've now fallen in love with it. So.
All right, so we've got a lot of folks who started this very young. Not everyone gets to do that. I started at 51, so I will never, if I sailed every single day, get to sail as much as these guys will by the time they're able to drink. So it's a pretty fun thing to get to watch these young sailors having these experiences. So then that takes us to our next question. because I'm going to ask you questions and we're going to pretend these guys aren't here. How did you decide you wanted to race in sailing? And Ella, we'll start with you first, as opposed to just going out and cruising.
Well, going to Benilde St. Margaret's and starting on their sailing team, I was automatically like, oh, I'm on this sailing team now. I'm going to go to these regattas. And I enjoyed it. Even though we didn't do so well, I still enjoyed it. And then just kept racing, signed up for summer, and now it led me here very quickly.
I got into racing because I was doing opties just for fun, and we kept doing follow the leader, and I kept telling the coach to go faster, and the coach wouldn't go faster. The coach told me to go join the race team so I could go faster, and now I'm good.
I always raced with my parents on their boat, so I learned from them, and then I joined the high school team because my parents made me, and I really started to like it.
Yeah, my mom made me.
Get out here.
Yep.
See a come beam.
Right.
This.
Right, and that is a big thing, is the parental influence. Sometimes we do these things because we have to. Sometimes we actually learn we like them despite our parental influence, or when we come back to it on our own terms. So tell me how did you first find out there was this Sears Cup or this thing that you might want to try to do? Because there's a lot of steps, right? When did you say, we're going to be this Wayzata sailing team?
So Jackson told me about it in like early spring. Didn't really get any more information about it, but I thought, oh, this sounds cool. So I told Stone while he was doing it. He had no idea what it was, but he said, okay, sure, whatever. And then we sort of built a team from there.
And did the rest of you have any idea of what you were really getting into, or you were like, hey, Dom said there's this thing, I guess we'll do that too?
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
Just like, you doing this? I'm like, put my name down, I'll be there.
Yep. And you were not even on the scene yet, so
Yeah.
yes. So we'll get to you. So the three of you, and actually your sister, are all doing all of these practices and things. How did you decide what positions you were going to have?
I wanted to do bow because I like doing bow, and then Jackson told me, no, you're skipping, and that was the end of that.
And by skipping, driving, or for other folks, yep.
I don't know. I think Jackson chose most of our.
So, me and Jackson actually had a conversation without any of you guys, for me and Jackson.
This is what I figured. This is the secret.
And I didn't tell you guys about that. So he was like, where do you guys think we should put people? And I'm like, I want Dominic to drive, I would like to trim, and then whoever you think should do bow and should not do bow. And then he chose Britta on bow and you doing the fourth and helping out with other stuff.
I always suspected this. I'm so glad to have that shown up. Excellent, excellent. And what was the hardest part of switching to driving, as opposed to doing bow, which you liked, having to get out of your comfort zone?
I mean, I've done it in smaller boats my entire life.
Right.
But going to the keel boats, I was always so worried because I'm handling a very expensive boat, and if I so much as touch someone else's, there's going to be problems, and I didn't really like that. It was a little bit stressful for me at first, but it seemed to go fine, so then I got the hang of it. It's basically just a big dinghy anyways.
Right, just a big dinghy. Yep. How about you? What were you, because we'll talk about the details of your position, but what were you kind of doing? Was it any different than other things you've done when you've sailed with your parents, or did you have a role you were always doing when you were sailing with the family that was different here?
A lot of the times sailing with my family, I actually didn't do much. I like to sit and sleep in the cabin.
Okay, so this was a change.
Yeah, this is actually one of the first times actually racing on a keel boat. But I was trimming the main, and I usually did crew in the dinghy, so it was actually pretty different. I'd never done that before, so it was a little scary.
Yeah. Yeah. And Stonewall?
I think just kind of the size difference of going from sailing something like a dinghy with 2-person or 1-person to all of a sudden there's 4 of us and just trying to make that work, where I'm trying not to elbow someone, but I'm trying to make sure we're also all trying to get our jobs done.
And your dinghies, do they have spinnakers?
Some of them do in the summer, so I trim some.
Okay, so was that new for any of you?
I
In
have
that,
rough
a
idea,
little bit
which is larger.
doing, yes, much bigger.
Yeah.
All right, so the three of you and your sister are all prepping. Tell me what the steps are. Like, do we have a qualifier? What are we doing besides practicing? What are our steps for this?
Well, we had the qualifier coming up in like late June, I believe.
And it was here,
Yeah,
right?
it was here. And so July.
How many teams?
How many teams were there?
That was kind of part of the struggle. Because no one wanted to sign up for the qualifier. I guess no one really heard about it. So we spent weeks trying to get a bunch of other teams on board so that we could get enough boats for the qualifier. And it had to be postponed several times, but we eventually ended up with 4 boats.
Which was enough.
Yeah, we needed 3. But in terms of preparation, we mostly just like all looked at our calendars and then picked out days that we could all make. And it was a bit rough with spring season still, high school spring season still going on, and finals for school and all of that. But we picked out days that we could work, and then we talked to some of the people at the yacht club, like Lars and JD, got boats and got coaching.
All right. So at what point did we decide, or did you guys realize we were going to need to have a new 4th on board?
So we realized that Britta, Harper's sister, was going to be gone for the actual. It wasn't for the qualifiers, but the actual event. And you need to keep the same team from the qualifiers to the actual event. So at that point, we realized we had to let Britta go and find another person. So we had messaged Ella, who was looking into having a team for the qualifier, and being like, "Hey, would you want to join our team?"
So yeah, how I saw the Sears Cup was I kind of just wanted to do every regatta I saw on the list during that summer. I was just like, what is this? This seems interesting. I want to do it. I had no idea what I was signing up for. And then I realized, oh, I need to get a team. And I originally wanted to get a team from Minnetonka, but that didn't work out for me personally. But then I contacted
We're
Dom.
kind of glad, frankly.
Yeah. And I contacted Dom a little bit more about, getting a team and stuff. And eventually I just gave up. We postponed the registration to the qualifier a lot. And then while I was in the car with Gordy and Diane, I got a text message from Dominic asking to be his 4th. And I immediately said yes. I didn't even look at my schedule. I was like, you know what? Screw everything. I'm just doing this. And I barely even asked my parents or my mom and my grandma. I kind of did that all on my own. Signed up, got a U.S. Sailing membership, and soon, or right after that, I was on the team. And we started practicing.
And I think generally parents are actually so excited if teenagers are excited about something that isn't sleeping or eating or being on the sofa. So,
Well, and you know that if you teach your kids to sail, they're never going to be able to afford drugs.
So tell me about the first time you guys, so we're pre-qualifier, because we now know we have to have the same team for qualifier and then if we qualified to go on. So Britta very graciously said, I'm out. Ella very graciously said, I'm in. Tell me about the first time the 4 of you sailed together. What was that like? And I want the dirt. Or the tea. Or whatever was
Much
made.
of that. There was very little drama. I don't remember if that was the time we got Lars on or Rod.
We got Ucha.
So Dom has a mother.
She's just in the background the entire time.
And like all teenagers, she's invisible to him, but not to everyone else. And was a key part of this. But yeah, so some lady off the street went sailing with you guys. Right.
Yeah, on
On JD's boat, you guys
We
boat.
use JD's boat a lot, so thank
Right,
you.
right. So the four of you have never sailed together before. You're going out there, you get out of the slip, you go out, and was there any discussion like we might switch positions, or was it always Ella's just gonna do this, we're all gonna stay the same?
So the first experience with sailing with them was with Uta.
That lady off the street.
And she was a really good bow and taught me the first day everything, and I got it pretty quickly. She sent me a huge note list, which was very helpful, and I studied it like finals.
That her son's probably ignored 100 times, but yeah.
And after that, I was really into the position and was like, yeah, I can do this. And then we started doing Thursday night races, and their first Thursday night race with me, I heard that you guys did pretty well from previous Thursday nights.
Yeah, I think that was the one where we got 5th.
That was so good.
I almost beat her.
In the whole J22 fleet, with all of the sailors from Wayzata Yacht Club. Because usually in J22s, I've run that one as a PRO, there's how many 22s that usually sail on Thursdays? 20-ish. More than 20, for sure. Yeah, more than 20. So fifth. You can imagine that all the adults were thrilled that these teenagers were out there practicing. All right, so it went well. Did you guys encounter any conflict with your new fourth person at all? Like anything? Did you call her the wrong name? Did you ever confuse the blondes, like this blonde, that blonde? A little, see, Dom, I knew. Yep. No.
I think in the beginning, we really struggled with the names slightly.
Right.
Bad at names, and then it was completely fine up until we were in San Diego, and all of a sudden I forgot the names again after San
Right?
Diego for a while.
Did you do like a nickname or some other thing to help you remember the names, or
I
just,
hoped if I said roughly what their job was, they would do it.
so just bow.
We just hoped for the best.
Right. So we're gonna take a moment. This Sears Cup was started in 1920. We learned that from Mr. Allen. So it's been around for a long time. And the technical name is actually a triple-handed competition. But if you count, we have 4 up there. And so we're gonna have our extra hands and ears tell us how that works, that we can have 4 people in a triple-handed competition, no pressure. You can tag your team if you need to.
Well, I kind of did everything that they needed me to. If Ella was busy with like taking the spin up or taking it down and something got stuck, I would run up and fix it. Or sometimes I would trim the main for Dom or trim the jib-in when we're going upwind. I would do the traveler during tacks, and I did the twings for spinnaker. And it really was just, if somebody needed help, I was there.
Okay, so the triple-handed definition does allow for a 4th person to be on the
It
boat.
depends on the boat.
Oh, right. Thank you. This is why Bill's here as
I
well.
went through from 1920 to, last year. You'll be on that list next year, but there were mostly 3 people.
Yeah, it's
And
mostly
all-
been 4 people up to this point. I think the year prior was also 4 people in RS21s, and then this year was 4 people in J22s.
So you did have a very crucial role. Okay, that makes me feel better about all of this. All right, so we do the qualifiers. There's 4 boats. It's here. And anything exciting happened there besides you won? Was the weather a challenge? Were you worried we were going to postpone? I remember that happening.
There wasn't the best wins, there was some postponement, but the event was really fun. We ended up picket fencing and winning every race.
And tell the audience and me what that means.
We won every single race we sailed in the entire qualifying.
And some of them by a lot, because I sat out here watching. Are they racing?
Right. Is anyone else in this thing? All right, excellent. And so the group, this was called Area K. Let's tell the audience, Area K is obviously just a group of some of the yacht clubs and teams. Who does that include?
I think it's the Dakotas, us, Iowa, Illinois, and Wisconsin. I'm
Okay.
missing one.
Right, so Illinois, like Lake Michigan, where they have
Yep.
sailors, and Madison, where there's a lot of sailing. I'm not I am familiar with the Dakota sailing. There's not a lot of competition there, but
I don't think I've ever seen a Dakota team before.
right. Yep, you've just met one. But anyway, we'll save that. So anything else exciting? We picket fence, that's really good. And then you guys are like, oh, we're going. What was your reaction when you're like, we are going to San Diego? Ella, what was that like?
Dom said before that he already bought the tickets anyway. So we bought the tickets before the qualifier.
We bought refundable tickets because they would be cheaper, and that was all my mom. So
It was all who?
it was all my mom.
Who?
She exists.
Oh.
Tickets.
That lady off the street bought some refundable tickets because, of course, Dom's like, hey, if we don't win, what a great vacation, right? Right? So Dom had already bought tickets. What else were your...
It was
We
also
only
the
had 2 weeks between the qualifier
Yes.
and the actual event.
Ooh,
So
big turnaround.
we wanted to have, and the top 2 teams were qualified. We knew that some teams didn't have their full roster available for the actual event. So if something catastrophic would have had to happen for them not to qualify
Okay.
or not to get.
So it was kind of a sure thing.
So it was
Okay.
sort of, I mean, you never know.
Ish.
But we bought refundable-ish tickets.
Enough to buy some refundable
Refundable
tickets.
Airbnb, so
Okay.
we were at least.
Perfect. So you win. Apparently it was not the surprise that you thought. But what was your reaction? We're going to San Diego. I'm on the bow. What were you thinking, Ella?
I was just tagging along, really. I'd seen Dom and Stonewall and Harper all win so much during high school and summer. I was just like, wait, I'm gonna be with these people. They win everything. So I was really looking forward to that going into it.
Very good. How about the three of you?
I think I asked, where are we going? Like, I was like, where is it again?
Right. Right.
Son was excited because I like California, so I was excited to go and sail on the ocean.
Right. Right. And how about the rest of you? The rest of you, the two of you. Any reactions? Any?
I was excited to see the beach and see California.
Right?
The West Coast of Florida.
Oh!
I was super excited.
And Dom, how about you?
I was pretty excited. I was mostly thinking about all the practice that we had to do, and then I was also like, gotta contact people to figure out local conditions and all of that, which
That's
didn't
very
actually
Dom of
really-
you. Yep.
They didn't actually turn out at all really
Nope.
how they were supposed to,
Nope.
Never do.
They never do. Bless
Every
you.
morning, Dominic was looking at the current and the wind, and all of us were just joking around.
It's like,
cereal.
and then we want to go here, and then we want to go here. So it's obviously expensive. Tell us a little bit about some of your fundraising efforts.
Here.
So for example, I've heard the Yacht Club had a grant or scholarship that you guys looked at, and I will just say that you filed that, and then they received it. And we got a lovely postcard from you for that. They sent postcards to everyone. What else did you do? Did we do a car wash?
Did they take their own boat out, or how does that work?
We're gonna get to that. Yep. We'll get to that. You're not taking a boat. We obviously need to answer that pressing question right now.
Yeah.
So they just have to get themselves to San Diego, which is a thing all by itself. So we're calling parents or grandparents, or no car washes. I don't remember any car
We
washes.
did the free beer and donations here.
Right, our beer is free, we're not selling it. And also way over there is a pot where you could put some money, right? We want to be very clear about that.
We asked a lot of different people from the Yacht Club, and the Yacht Club themselves, and very generous, received money to help fund. I believe, other than that, we asked family members and different things. I think you guys have applied for a grant for, was it Young Women Sailors? Was that what the grant was for? Oh, you guys received that or not?
Neat.
I believe that was kind of the majority of our fundraising for this event. I think with such the quick turnaround of the 2 weeks, we
Right.
had a ton of time to,
Right.
but we asked a lot of people, and a lot of people were very generous.
Right, right. Did you know then that Minnetonka hadn't won this for 50 years. Was that ever on your radar at that point or anything?
I still didn't know what the Sears Cup was.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, yep.
I think even if we had known that, the concept of winning wasn't really on our mind.
So that's our segue. What are you thinking as we're heading out to San Diego?
It's like,
You're just stressed. Like, I know you're like,
I mean,
I think your hair just curled
I
like
looked
in
at- I
anxiety.
looked at all the people on there and I know no one. The only people that we sort of know were that Ella's cousins were going to be out there from
That's right.
New Orleans. We don't know.
Close family.
Yep. Because tell us about who some of your competitors were there. We had,
Diane's side of the family, I really have no.
no, I mean generally. Like we've seen some of the other, we have
A lot of people from out west, and then a lot of people from the east, and not many people from the center, which
Right.
is usually how it goes.
Right.
There were two California teams. I think there were St. Francis and San Francisco, or actually San Diego rather.
Mission Bay.
Oh, and Mission. Yeah, there were actually a lot.
So these people who get to sail like year round.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's
And
not intimidating
there
at all.
we made friends with the team from Atlanta. That was pretty fun. And
Also
there were a
gets to
couple
share.
teams from the East Coast. I don't remember much about them.
I thought I saw Portland somewhere in there maybe.
Yeah, there was. I think that was one of the Oregon teams.
Right.
I don't think any of us knew any of the other people there.
We didn't
going into
know
it.
anyone going into it.
And were you worried about that or actually just like, we don't care, we're Midwesterners, we'll make friends, or
We just had zero expectations.
even better,
Figured if I didn't want to talk to any of them, I could talk to these people if I had to.
right?
If you had to.
Yeah, technically.
So we get out there and there are how many boats competing again? 20?
17.
17.
Oh, yeah, I guess there were
17, and
20
what is
with
the racing structure? Like, you do race a certain number of races every day?
We tried.
Right, because if we're sailors, we know that that is
Yeah.
an optimism.
So started with a qualifying fleet. And that
More
was
qualifying.
Everyone, and they sort of rotated boats because they only had 10 boats for 17 teams. And then I think it might have been 2 days of qualifying, and then 1 day where we split into gold and silver fleets. The top half go to gold, bottom half go to silver, and then they prioritized the gold competition, although they still did several silver races, and that told who was going to get the trophy.
And let's talk about the boats you were sailing on, since we're there, since we've got some photos. They were J22s,
J22s, so we were really thankful to be familiar with the boat because we were the founding
Right.
J22 fleet here was at a really strong J22 fleet.
and some great coaches.
Yes, so we were
Fleet
talking.
one
Mhm.
in the world.
That's right.
It's true. A lot of the other teams had never sailed a 22, so that was fun to hear about. That we were by far, I think, the team with the most experience in this boat, which definitely gave us a large edge.
Well, yeah, you guys.
Because this was your first time on a 22,
It
right?
was my first time on a 22. The only previous keelboat experience I had prior to that was a little bit of J24. Shout out to Sam Bartel, he taught me a lot about that. And that was at Minnetonka. But other than that, jumping into J22, it's a much better boat. I'm
Yeah, he's
Right.
yeah.
There's no more comfortable J boat than a J24.
Yes. I mean,
You gotta have knee pads and elbow pads.
yes. Okay, so you get there, you're doing your things. Jackson, who was your coach, your official coach, is not there. Because why?
They didn't allow coaches to come to the events. They supplied a U.S. sailing coach. So there was the first day that we were there was a practice day to get people comfortable with the boat since a lot of people hadn't sailed. So we did a little bit. We talked a little bit with the coach since they're divided between 17 people. It wasn't a really personable experience.
Right.
And I think frankly the coaching we received here from the yacht club members in Jackson was better than what he could have given us because he hadn't sailed the boat as much.
Right. So he hadn't even sailed.
I think he had experience in the 22, but probably not as much as, say, Lars.
Yeah.
Right. Right, okay,
Um,
that's interesting.
Yeah, so no outside coach is allowed at any time in the event.
And so like no calling, no anything?
You could probably call them, but it's not as if they're going to be able to get
Right,
you anything.
right.
We did like after the day of racing, we would call.
A debriefing.
We would do debriefing with coaching, but not as much like active in between
Yeah.
races.
And how did that feel? Was that okay? Was it weird because you'd been every day otherwise with someone and now it was like, oh hey, they just let us here.
It was very different. I think a really good thing that coaches did while we were here was kind of prepping us for that to get us more used to how to coach ourselves and kind of mentally resetting or figuring out what we need to do or what's going well. So I think they set us up really well, and while it was weird, I think it was overall I was fine with it. It was mostly okay.
And did you have a race where things were just so awful that you had to really rely upon those coaching ourselves skills? Or maybe there was more than one, but why don't you talk a little bit about that?
So, I'll start. There was one race, it just started bad. We didn't have room, or we hit the race committee boat.
That's fine.
Yeah. So right off the start, we took a few spins. Not even a boat length after that, I lost my hat. And then there was something, we almost shrimped our kite that same race.
So dropped it in front of the boat and then almost ran over it.
Oh, and even I know that's not good.
And then also we had not a great douse, and that is one of the times Harper had to come in for me and I was just screaming for her to do stuff. We made it through though, Dominic kept driving. So that was great.
We had buys, which was our off races, and then like usually a set of like 2 or 3 races, and this one set of 2, just both races kind of went abysmally and everything went wrong, like Elle was saying. But then we had a buy, and the buy turned into like a 2-hour break because the wind died. So we were sitting on your buy, you sat, and they had this big motorboat out there with food and for lunch and water and stuff. So we just kind of sat around and had an okay time and kind of got that mental reset. And then came back off of that and won a race.
I seem to recall us playing poker.
Not for money, not for no money involved.
No Subway sandwiches.
And Subway sandwiches. All right. And was there ever any race where you're like, this just sucks and I hate it and I want to quit and go home?
I think we were doing well pretty much the entire time. Except for a couple of
little
races.
things.
So when those
Yep.
happened, we just, Stonewall helps us reset and then we keep going.
That's when I lost my hat.
I see that. I see that. And how about the other competitors? Did you get to know any of them? Get to interact with them at all? Did you meet some folks that you liked? Did you meet some folks that you're like,
There's definitely both.
Yep, that is the right answer.
Yep. I think as we went with one team, I think it was the Georgia team, we went and had ice cream after the first day. Made some friends with them, kept chatting throughout the event. The second place team from Austin we were chatting with after the event was over. And there were some teams that we would come in on our bye and they would just be screaming at each other for the 45 minutes they had off, yelling about what everyone else was doing wrong.
Oh, like the teams themselves?
Yeah.
Oh.
So we just stayed away from that group, or
We did some
listened
team
interestingly.
counseling with one of them.
Oh yeah. Hearing both sides, and that just developed into them yelling at each other more. So.
All right. So we're in our last day of races, and I feel like there was something where you were doing really well, and then there was kind of a little dip-ish, and then suddenly it was like, oh, we might actually do this. When did each of you realize we might actually do this?
We had a pretty large lead going into the last day, and I think the first couple of races were decent, and then it kind of went off. It got worse, but we kind of we were looking at the scores every time we got back onto the committee boat, like, oh, we need to do this well, and we need to do this well, and then I think on the last race, as we were finishing, we didn't really think about it until we finished, and then we crossed the line and we counted up our score, and we're like, oh, we won.
Is that really what all of you are like, oh?
I think the last day Dominic just saw how big of our lead was, and he was just like, I'm gonna relax relax, you know? It's fine.
It was stressing a little bit.
You were a little bit stressed. We also, the last day was with Gold Fleet, so it was just the top team. So it was,
Right.
it was a much tighter competition overall. But I think it was really fun. The first race was, I think we placed like third, but there's a couple points were really close to the first. I think that was the first time I realized it's like, oh, we might not win, but we can like definitely do well and show up for this event.
And how did it feel to be competing against these other people who get to sail, let me say it again, year round, and to beat them?
I was really enjoying listening to all of them complain about the wind.
There's never any wind in San Diego, so if you want wind, you go to San Francisco.
Every single one of them were like, our qualifier was 18 knots and it was wavy and now we're just sitting here floating. I'm like, yeah. So every day.
Yeah, our qualifier was this.
So you guys win, yay. What's the first thing you guys did like officially as winners? Did you call parents? Did you call Jackson? Did you just cheer each other on?
We jumped in the ocean.
We
tried
got
to
a picture. Someone came up to us and was like, "Oh yeah, you're taking pictures now." And so one of those is up here, and then
Right.
we all jumped in, of course. And then we just sailed back in, kind of screwing around the entire way.
Like the pressure's off. And what was Jackson's response when you called? And I think something happened, like didn't you try to call? What's the story there?
He called while we were still de-rigging. He called my mom. And then most of us got back. Yeah, he was crying, by the way.
You read
I remember the first thing he said to me, I don't think I can repeat, but just very happy and very surprised with that. We all were. But I think
So he was surprised.
yeah, I think the first thing he said to me was
You
like,
guys
yeah.
were not, but he was a little surprised. Anything else when you talked to him or you shared that with him or family? Any family special reactions? Besides the usual, yay, we're so proud of you. I told you that you would like this if you had just listened to me from the beginning.
I hadn't really been communicating with my family a lot until, I don't even, did I ever talk to you until I got
No.
Yeah. You saw the medal when I got home, so.
All right. So let's talk, this is a trophy. There's a big, big trophy. It is not here. Tell us why.
It gets to sit in Bristol, Rhode Island.
Because?
At the U.S. Sailing Headquarters, because it's 100 years old.
Over 100.
It is the oldest sailing in youth sports, not just sailing, out of all sports, youth sports, and
All youth sports.
the U.S. at least. It's the oldest trophy.
It's also
Yeah.
quite large, and it would probably be difficult to fit in there.
Right.
Luggage.
Yeah,
So
the
you
top's
got-
also wobbly.
Yeah.
So when they hand it to you, they're just like, don't do anything with this.
So we wanted to have, or you wanted to have something to sort of signify that you accomplished this here. So let's take a look at this. And so the folks back home, I believe that's our Ezra's art, right?
Yep.
So Ezra did this. How did you feel when you came in and saw that and saw, well, we don't have a trophy, but we have this?
It's pretty cool to have it hanging up on the wall with all our signatures. Like, hey, we won this. We have a legacy.
We have a legacy. And your coaches, what did you go to them and say, hey, this really helped, or we did this one thing, or did you have a day where you're like, hey, I missed this one day that you taught me this thing? How was it getting to talk to your coaches when you came back?
It was great to talk to Lars in particular because the San Diego conditions were such like the minor little control lines on the J22, and Lars taught us all about the controls. So that came huge help when in San Diego when our boat speed was much faster than everyone else.
I think my favorite thing was just coming back and realizing like all the little things the coaches were repeating to me of Lars's, just kind of keeping things simple, Jackson, Thompson's, like just kind of keep the mindset up and control what you can. And just like those base ideas, not even directly sailing related, were kind of the most impactful to me. It's really fun to be able to see that.
Yeah, I mean, like them telling us about like the mental reset, and that was really helpful. And like we've been like that's like one of the main goals for like high school sailing, and just like being able to restart if you do bad, and that was insane.
That's also true for adult sailors too.
I mean, I was back home for like 2 days, and I was off to visit colleges with my mom.
That lady.
For like a month.
For like a month, right? We were all like, why didn't we go on that trip?
So I came back, and we all went to the sailing school for like an hour and just hung out with all the coaches and a bunch of people and just like congratulations, that sort of thing.
We had some cake here, I think. Didn't we have some cake here at the club?
The yacht club.
That had your faces on it?
Yep.
Yep, so we
I
did
missed
some
out on
cake.
the cake.
Oh, we had your face on a stick though.
Yeah, you did have
We had a flat dom. We had a flat
I
dom.
still have that.
Yay! So, how old are they? Oh, I'm sorry. Dom is 17, right?
Yep.
16? 15? Stonewall?
17.
And Ella's 14, unless you've had a birthday. Yes.
Senior, junior,
No, sophomore.
sophomore. You're young.
I'm a freshman.
Right. Yep. And we'll open this up to questions in just a second. Yes, sorry. So, yes. So you've been here. Have the four of you sailed since then?
Yeah. We sailed for the fall high school season here, us with Wayzata and you with St. Margaret's.
But not together on the same boat?
No.
So
So-
we did go to another keelboat event, 3 of us and her sister, because it had to be with Wayzata team. And so we did the qualifier in Detroit, and then we went to St. Petersburg for high school sailing keelboat nationals.
So the three of you have sailed with your sister, who says she doesn't hate you, and she's fine that she didn't go along. You're sailing with your high school team. Is there anything that's different now that you've won this as you're sailing and competing?
I think I have a lot to teach my team now, a little bit about more of the mental reset things and minor just attitudes towards sailing. Like keep a positive attitude. Right. Yeah. Just you can always come back.
Anything different for the rest of you guys?
Just kind of like the confidence portion of it is showing that like we can go and like, we're from Minnesota, we don't have to sail year round, but we can still go and compete on a really
Right.
high level from a place like this.
We can show you how it works. Yes. So we'll take questions here in a minute, but let's wind up with 2025 sailing goals. We've kind of got the end a little bit of the youth spectrum because we have Ella, who's sort of at the beginning of her career, and we have Dom, who's going to be graduating from high school in just a few months, and then going to some college yet to be determined. So we'll start with you, old man.
Well, I'm gonna have my last high school spring season. Gonna freeze for the first half, but that's always part of the fun. And then at the end of that, we're probably going to try and go to Sears Cup again in the summer. It's going to be in J22s again, but at St. Francis, so it's going to be slightly different conditions.
And St. Francis is,
That's in San Francisco.
okay.
That's where it's windy.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay.
You guys need to start bulking up.
Yes, yes, yes. How about you? 2025 sailing goals.
I'm gonna join the high school spring again,
Yep.
high school fall.
Yep.
I hope to go to all the regattas I can. Travel more.
And will it be different not sailing with your sister this year?
It'll be pretty hard.
Oh.
Yeah, all the seniors are leaving. It's
Yeah.
very sad.
Yeah. Oh, and also Dom, sorry, and also Dom, right? Stonewall, how about you?
I'll be doing the spring season, hopefully looking back at Sears. We've done talk about doing match racing with the Rose Cup and other stuff this summer, but I'm also trying to look to, with Dominic leaving and Britta leaving, building up the Wayzata high school team a bit more and getting kind of that next group for
Sure.
as more of us leave, people to fill our spaces.
All right. Ella?
I'm also going to do the spring and hopefully fall, and then the summer keep sailing and doing what I can.
With these guys?
Yeah, Sears Cup again.
Okay. All right. Anything I haven't asked else that you guys want to share about your experience before we open it up for questions?
Just the one thing I'd like to say is that we did this and it was a huge thing for us, but it's also a huge thing for all the people who kind of brought us here, because we definitely did not do this alone, and we've been supported by a ton of people here and in our lives, like family and friends. And to kind of be able to have this opportunity we're really thankful to be able to have this opportunity, and then also kind of show up and deliver and show that all the support and help that you guys gave us really was worth it and really did matter.
Excellent. Anyone want to follow that, or all you? Yeah, nope, Stonewall's good. Okay. A round of applause for these guys. You can shut that down. And we'll take a few minutes to see if the audience has any questions, which you will, because you'll be like, why didn't she ask this? And it was so that all of you could. We do have a microphone, so we have to make sure that we get this microphone in your face so that we can hear your question. Right, Tom?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep,
so.
I have a question. That's why I'm.
Oh, you
standing
have
up.
a question?
Yes, but.
I thought you were like modeling
No,
how
no,
to
no,
stand
no,
in front of it. Tom, what is your question?
So my question is what words do you have for the kids running around in the Opties? You know, they're coming up, the younger kids. What do you have anything you want to say for them as they're just coming into this?
I would say
Thank
the
you.
biggest thing is just kind of see where it takes you. I got into sailing and just doing it for fun and didn't even really see myself going towards the competitive side and ended up here. But sailing's wonderful because if you like it and you enjoy it, you can find whatever you want. You can go compete at a really high level. You can just sail for fun with friends, and the important thing is just keep doing it if you enjoy it, and it's a wonderful thing fun sport to do, but it's also the wonderful community that makes it that. So.
Yeah, I mean, as someone who started in Opties, I'd say go race, do everything that you can. It doesn't matter how you do. I went to my first inlands and I got just destroyed. I don't know, there were 80 boats and I was probably in the back 60, 70. Worse. Okay.
My first inlands, I placed 63 out of 64, and was just thrilled I get last.
I think adding on to that idea, taking opportunities, that has been huge for me, and it's what got me here. And as long as you just say yes and you get involved, you have no idea where it's going to lead you, and it's led me great places, and I'm really happy to be on this team.
I would just say don't give up, because until I joined the high school race, I was not a big fan, but then I made a ton of
Sleeping
friends
down on
the
the.
team. Yeah, sleeping down on the cabin, but I made a ton of friends, and then it was a lot more enjoyable, and that's what I would definitely say is to.
Excellent. Yeah. David or Bob, you'll have to come up here. We have a question on the phone.
Really loud.
No, I can talk really loud. They still need this special microphone. It's like at church, but it's not a jar, so don't put anything in it. Go ahead.
What were the ages for the Sears Cup? The lower age and the upper ages for allowed to be in it?
So you have to be at least 13 in that year at any point in that year, and then you cannot turn 19 that year.
Great.
I'm thinking my wife's going to have a boat.
So, hang on. It's not church. Dennis, did you still have a question about the boats?
No.
Ellie. Kathy. Oh, yes, please. I don't get bonked in the head though.
I know him. My question is, do you want to take this on to college? Are you going to cap it at your high school career? Do you want to go on to the Olympics? What are your end-long goals?
Bill wants to know that answer too.
I will keep sailing in college as much as I can. Pretty much all the schools that I looked at are on the East Coast, and one of the big requirements was good sailing team. And now I've sort of narrowed it down to a few, and I'll definitely.
And what are they?
Okay, so Roger Williams is probably my top pick right now. They've got one of the best sailing teams in the country. They won team race nationals last year, so that would be pretty fun. Vermont's another one. My first Opti coach is the head coach there. And then Rhode Island, I've got a friend who goes there, Kyla Hendrickson, and then yeah, there's a couple more. They all kind of get a little more expensive as you go up.
I don't set mine at Boston College. It's the most expensive college
Right,
in the world.
right.
But they have one of the best sailing teams, so.
Yes.
You're, you know, it's like you're going to find some place to go sail. I mean, you guys, when I was at that point, they weren't sailing. Nobody had sailing teams. You know, it's like, oh, I had to play hockey, darn.
And where's Britta going? Harper, no. Yes, Britta. God, see, this is what I do. Where is she going? Did she decide? Oh, okay. Will she be sailing?
She more wants to do it as like a club sport, I think, not like a
Okay.
varsity thing.
All right. How
She's
about-
also thinking East Coast stuff.
Okay, and how about you? You've got a few years yet, but
Yeah, it's kind of undecided still. I would like to, but it's, you know, it's
you're like, that's so far away. Stonewall, same?
I'll probably end up going to like the U of M for college, which doesn't have like the strongest East Coast sailing team, but I'd like to try and kind of keep sailing in the area if I can, or if I'm not in the U of M team, potentially coming back to here at my side and helping out the high school teams or doing
I bet they take you. All right, and Ella, I know that's like 1,000 years ahead for you.
Yeah, I don't know anything about college right now, but I do know I want to sail in college.
Excellent. Kathy, did you still have a question? Oh, hang on. Oh, she's coming to you, Bob.
I just wondered about the boats. You said that you used their boats, and so every day did you have a boat? Did you have the same boat every time, or did you have to learn a new boat every time and then rig and do all that?
Well, they're all the same class, and they're all fairly similar rigged. We had to re-rig them every day, and we rotated through all of them so that to ensure fairness.
Okay.
And you can't mess with like the rig settings or anything. You can sort of adjust some things, but only things that are easily adjustable and can be adjusted back.
The most changes we were doing would be retying a line to suit how we sail the pier more, but it was all more or less just the same.
Anyone else? Yes, Alex.
So as a San Francisco sailor, it was crazy dealing with current the first time I was out there and putting the boat on the bottom overnight and learning that was okay. What are you guys doing to prepare for St. Francis? Because it's a different animal.
Go ahead.
Right now we're, with current sailing, Dominic's done some stuff and we saw current in Detroit, so we have a little bit of a deal with that. But right now we're not doing a ton prepping for it. We're doing a bit more prepping for just kind of keeping high school teams up for spring season, and then as the lakes kind of melt or come back to being saleable, I couldn't think of the word for melt. We'll do some practice and just kind of refining boat handling, but it's probably not going to end up doing a ton for current prep. Okay. Just without being able to travel to it.
Yeah, I mean, heavy wind is a bit of an interesting beast for the four of us because we're 500 pounds together. Weight limit is 605. Every other team is heavier than us, pretty much. So it's a wild ride for sure. But we can sort of make it work. We just got to work on it a little more.
So you guys grew up sailing here where it's light and shifty, but it can also be puffy and shifty, and it can also be choppy and shifty. And San Diego's not that. So what did you know going in? What did you know about San Diego going in, and what did you know you were going to have to change about your game when you got there?
Well, we talked a lot about the current because we thought that might play into it, and then it didn't because they put us in a bit of an off spot. And then we thought it was going to be windier than it was. We thought it was going to be more steady than it was. It was neither of those things. Came out of the west, right over like all the aircraft carriers and all of that, and it was just like here. Like, fully light, fully shifty the entire time. We had to sit in the boat for like 2 hours, waiting for wind to go above zero on the anemometer.
I remember when, like, the 2 weeks in between qualifying and the event, Dominic was emailing people like Steve Hunt and asking for all these things. We were setting up on how to sail the event, and then we show up and we're just like, it's just like Minnetonka.
Yeah, I mean, I was on a call for like 30 minutes with Steve Hunt, probably one of the best high school coaches in the country. And he was like talking to me about how you got to go to this side and get the shift off of the wall. They didn't sail us there, which is odd because they usually would. I think they were trying to get a better view from the city. And then that shift didn't really even happen. So.
Any other questions? Yes?
Is there a picture?
Oh, hang on, we'll, sorry, I know we have to wait for the boom.
Is there a picture of them with the trophy somewhere? I'd love to see
Not on
them.
the
Is it
slide.
posted?
Not in the
online?
slideshow.
I mean, we can see
So
it
the
somewhere.
Wayzata Sailing Facebook,
They have it on the Facebook?
yep, and the
Okay,
US
that's all.
Sailing has it as
Okay,
well.
I'll look it up. So
Yep,
it's
yeah,
Talking
it's-
about the trophy.
Right, it is, it's a big guy, that's a big guy. Any other questions? Oh, yep, we've got one from a mom behind you there, Bob. I mean, sorry, just some lady,
I'm Harper's mom, and I will just say that we were glued to the webcam and glued to the live results, but we were totally fine with her not contacting us at all because we knew she was in such excellent hands. That's Uda. So can you guys say, could you have done any of this without Uda?
And that is exactly right. The unsung hero, Uda, was the adult in charge out there. And not only was she responsible for them, she was responsible for all of us constantly texting her, now what, now what, now what? And I know I was even doing that, and I'm like this far removed. So I thought, oh gosh. But yeah, so we all want to make sure that a lot of this is possible, as Stonewall said, as they've all said, because of the adults that help make that possible. So one last question. How many people at Wayzata Yacht Club have now asked you to be part of their regular crew?
Quite a few. I think that goes for all of us, and I do want to just say that this next summer, at least until we're done with the Sears Cup, we will be sailing Thursdays together. So gonna have to look for us after that.
Excellent, excellent. Any other very last questions of any kind? All right, so we'll give these guys a round of applause in a second. We want to thank all of the adults. Lars, can you stand up for a second? JD, Uda, Matt, Ezra. These are some of the adults. We have other adults that, Not, stand up. Yep. Everyone, all of the parents to stand up too. Who's out? Where's Eric? Eric somewhere. Stand up, parents. Because really, these are the parents that help make this a thing too. So this is our future at the Yacht Club. We're always talking about the future sailors, And this year they said, hold my Mountain Dew. And really showed that to us. Thank you, all of you, for coming out tonight and hearing about this. And we'll look forward to following their adventures and things that go on. They have to stay to pose for some, photos. But otherwise, anything else, Barb, that we need to do? All right, so thank you for coming to the first Wanderlust.